What's up, everybody? This is Flash001 USA, and it's Sunday, October 13th, 2013. It's about 3:45 p.m. Now this is going to be my last how-to video, and on this particular video we're going to be covering how to properly get the gasifier started up so that you get a good clean burn right out of the gate. Now before we do that, I'm just interjecting this little piece of video in here because I think I had discussed this in one of my past videos. I had mentioned that I was going to actually reduce my reduction zone down a little bit because with my small 5 horsepower engine I need a smaller reduction zone to get a good hotter burn so I can make sure that I'm cracking the tar. Right now on the bell curve I am cracking the tar, but I'm right at the extreme lower end of it, and I want to move that sweet spot around. So what we're looking at right here, this is the original reduction zone. Now it's got a 3-inch opening, and the new one that I've got right here has a 2-inch opening. This should be, according to FEMA plans, set up for a 5 horsepower engine. And notice I got a piece of stainless steel on it. The reason I've got this on here is because with the original one, this hole here matches the exact same size of the bottom of the cone. And because this one's smaller, what I would have is all the hot gases smashing into the edges of this iron right here, the steel. So to protect it, what I've done is I've made me a stainless steel ring right here that's going to protect this iron underneath it from burning up. So that's the whole idea behind that. I just wanted you guys to see this. And what we're going to do, we're going to let the sun settle down a little bit because I want you guys to be able to see the flares when I start this gasifier off. I want you to be able to see everything extremely clear. And I'll probably take some still shots of the flares too, because for some reason the video camera doesn't show them as clear. And I want you guys to be able to see exactly what you should have if the gasifier is running correctly. So on that note, let's pause out and we'll be back in a couple hours. Okay, we'll let you see it now that it's mounted up here. I'm going to zoom in on it and you'll see why I'm putting stainless steel in here with it. That's a lot of reduction compared to what I had, and I definitely didn't want to have anything burning up inside of it. So there it is. And we'll go ahead and pause back out and get ready for an ignition here. Alright, we're back and we're ready to start the gasifier up. Now the first thing that you want to do before you do anything else is inspect your gasifier. Walk around it, make sure that all pipes are connected tightly, make sure nothing's loose, nothing's been left off. In other words, give it a general inspection. Now once you've done that and you're satisfied that everything is like it should be, the next thing you want to do is add your fuel. Now something that you probably haven't heard anybody mention, and I'm going to tell you right now, and this makes a big difference in startup. I use a startup fuel in this thing. I don't use the wood in the bucket over here. That's the actual fuel. And what I use is biochar. And a lot of people that have experience with gasifiers have figured this out a long time ago. Basically what they do is when they're running their gasifier, they'll shut it down right when it's getting ready to run out of fuel, and they'll save that biochar on the bottom for the next startup. Or you can take it and save it out of the bottom of the gasifier when you scoop it out with a shovel and save it in bags, which is what I do. And since I've last run this thing, I've made some changes on it. I had to clean it out. So there's all my biochar that I've saved. Alright, what I'm going to do now is add some biochar to the gasifier to get it started up. You really want to avoid adding raw wood into it and using that as your starter fuel, because what's going to happen is you're going to produce a lot of tar and a lot of smoke until the thing stabilizes. So what you want to do is start with biochar if you have some. If not, you can make some, and I'll explain that a little bit later in the video. But what I'll do is I'll add the biochar to the system. Now you won't load it up like you would regular wood where you pile it all the way to the top. You're just going to put enough biochar inside this thing to fill up the fire cone. You'll also want to let some spill into the bottom where the ash grate is too. This way you don't have to fall through while you're working with it. But you'll fill your fire cone up or fill your tube up to the top where the fire is going to happen, and maybe go about an inch above that. And once I light this off, this stuff will burn pretty quick. It'll take it about 2 or 3 minutes, and what will happen is it'll drop about an inch or two, and I'm going to wait until those coals drop just flush with the bottom of the air nozzle on this thing. Once that happens, I'm going to turn back around and add the fuel to this thing. At that point I'll close the top of this, because right now when I'm lighting it up I'm technically running in downdraft mode. I'll close the lid and I'll make sure that the intake for the air nozzle is opened up, and now we're in invert mode. And then it takes it maybe 5 minutes, if that. And what will happen is you'll start seeing a good clean gas coming off this thing. And when you fire up the flare, a lot of times it's going to be Halloween orange because you're already cracking tar before the whole gasifier even gets warmed up. So on that note, I'm going to pause back out here because I got to go ahead and get the tripod for the camera and bring me a light and a stand out here because my sun's running out on me. So take a standby. All right, got it lit up. Let me set this guy over here. What we're going to do is let you guys see how fast this thing builds up an ignitable gas, okay? Let me get him on here. So you can actually take a watch or whatever and time it from when you see me light it till I walk over here. Now I'm on the tripod. Now I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but there's already some burnable gas coming off of it. See the orange flame? Now keep in mind I am lighting with biochar, so there's really no way in hell that there could be any kind of tars in here, which will go back to what I've always said here, that when you got a tar-free gas and you're burning basically particles, you're going to actually have a Halloween orange flame. And I've got my digital camera out here too, because sometimes for some reason the video camera doesn't pick it up as well. So what I'll do is take some still shots in real time and then have them tied into the video. This way you can see what it's actually supposed to look like, because the photos that I take with the still camera are really a true representation of what's coming out of this thing. But you can see right now I've actually got some good gas burning right here, and I can't see the camera where I'm at. I'm going to see if I can reach my hands over here. Now you may not be able to see it from there. Let's see if we can get it over here and see it. Yeah, that's a Halloween orange flare right there, but it's not, there's nothing there yet, and I'm still waiting for the amber bed in there to stabilize. And it's not likely that I would get a sustainable flare just off of a handful of biochar, but you see what I got off of it right now. Yeah, hell, I do have it. Okay, there you go. Well, that's a good sign right there. And I want to get a couple of photos of this before I load it down with wood. Okay, people, I didn't think I'd get that off just biochar, but that's what you look like when you have a tar-free gas, non-filtered. Matter of fact, I'm going to get over here. You can really see it. And let me check the amber bed. Apparently it's ready. It is, so I'm going to start dumping wood in it. Okay, let me back off. I'm going to get some pictures of this thing with the camera, and hopefully this will actually pick it up better. And the sun is not quite down yet. I wanted to try to catch it at that magical time so that you guys could really see it. But you're going to be able to see it with the camera here, I promise you. And you'll understand why I'm saying it's important to get a good ignition. Okay. Now I'll also go back with the stopwatch and watch the video and see how long it took it to actually produce working gas, but you're seeing it. And I wanted you to see me light this thing real time because I just wanted to let you see that when you got something set up correctly and you got the proper ignition on it, that you will get a good fast flare on these things, no doubt about it. I'm going to add a little bit more wood to it. So far I've added 4 cups. I'll show you what I'm adding to it here, just so you know. Alright, That's what I'm adding to it right here. I've got one of these, which is 4 cups. I'm fixing to add a second one. I want the gasifier to stabilize before I try to pull it through the filters. And I mean, really, guys, when you got a gas that's burning like this, and anybody that knows about gasifiers, and you know, if you got a gas that's burning a flare like this, you really can get away with a minimal of a filter system, just something to catch the larger particles. And that's where I'm going to be taking this. I'm actually working on a new filter system besides this tri-filter system that'll breathe easier, and it's going to have an electrostatic front end on it to actually remove particles. So this way, instead of having a lot of filter medium, I'm going to do it with electricity. That's basically where I'm going to take it, and that's down the road, but I am working on it. I'm actually in the midst of it right now, designing the electronics, and I've got the mechanics of it figured out. I just got to sit down and work out the bugs with it. Oh, before I forget, I needed to tell you guys something here too. I'm running downdraft mode, or technically FEMA mode if you want to call it. I haven't shut the lid yet. So basically I'm getting that clean of a gas, and let you see down there, that's all the wood I've got in it right there. So I'm actually getting a tar cracked gas running in a downdraft mode, which is not impossible. And it's kind of like I said in the first part of the video, I am reduced now down to 2 inches. I did that so that I would actually have a hotter gas at a lower air velocity, if that makes sense. In other words, I should now be able to get a good gas at a much lower temperature than I had in the past. And this right here is my proof of what I'm saying. So there it is. And I'm still going to let this thing stabilize for a minute or two. Then I'm going to go ahead and run this thing through the filters. And then we're going to crank this engine up and just let you see it run. But basically, going back, and I'm going to cover this again, you want to start with 2 kinds of fuels. I call the starter fuel, which is basically saving the biochar that comes out of the gasifier, and I start up on pure biochar. And once I got that ember bed going, then I add wood. If you don't, you wind up with a lot of smoke, and you actually produce tar, which, speaking of, the only thing that I'm going to produce off of this is water. That's all that's in the bottom of this jar right here right now. It's just a little bit of water. And there's actually no smoke in it. So there it is. I'm going to go ahead and pause back out here. There's no use letting this thing run while we're sitting here letting this thing stabilize. But, you know, I'm going to explain somewhere in this video how to make biochar, or a worst case scenario, how to get some biochar with your new gasifier if you've never ran it before. You cannot use charcoal, and I'm going to give you an example why you can't before I shut the camera off here. Charcoal is too hard and too dense to use. You'll be waiting forever to get a stable burn. Now this is biochar, and watch what I can do with it. I just crumble it to a powder. Okay, and that's all that's left is powder. And you try to do that with the charcoal briquette, see what happens. You'll never break it. It's like trying to break a rock. And charcoal that you buy at Walmart or something, or your Kmart, it's made to burn for a long period of time. This biochar that I've got in the gasifier burns extremely fast. I mean, it'll drop out on you in a New York minute. So on that note, we're going to pause back out, and I think I'm going to get 1 or 2 more pictures, just because I've actually got a good hot flare here, and the sun has dropped a little bit more, and I really want you guys to see this up front and close. I'm trying to walk around and get the best, what I consider the best view of this flame, which I think I just found it. Now you can save these stills here as a reference. It doesn't get any better than this as far as a gas that actually has, honest to goodness, true tar that's being cracked in it. So I do have wood in it right now, and it's been in there since I've been jibber jabbering. But you can use these flares as a reference, and I'm also going to put up a website link to some people that actually discuss this, that know much more than I do about it. And you'll see these flares are exactly identical to what they have on there. And because of that, I'm not really concerned about trying to measure the temperature of the restriction zone, because the gas will tell you just as much too, you know. I mean, you don't have to be in a car and see the odometer to know if you're driving 100 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And this is kind of the same thing. If you've got a milky yellow flare and you've got goo dripping on out of your pipes anywhere or collecting, then you got tar. And like I said, I can stick my fingers in any of these pipes, which I've already done it too, and you stick my hands in any of these pipes, all this white pipe, all this stuff here after a run, and all I'm going to get out of it is dust or some wet carbon water, which will wash off just right off the spigot. So I will be back when we get ready to run it through the filters. All right, before I actually switch this over to the filters, I do want to take a couple of quick temperature measurements here, and I'm going to read them off rather than trying to zoom in on the actual, well, hell, no, I'll go ahead and do that on these parts right here. About 137 degrees. That's not bad. Now I'm going to try to keep this in. I'm at the top part of the barrel, about 129 degrees. About 128. Now I'm going to measure right here in this guy where this gas is actually coming out. About 115. We'll hit it at the top. Oops, sorry about that. Let me try that again. 100 degrees. Now the new cooling radiator come off really, really sweet. I've already ran this one time as a test run, so it worked exactly the way I wanted it to. I couldn't ask for it to work any better. I'm gonna hit it at the top here. $110 degrees, which is probably truer than what I just got the measuring to, even though it measured 100 over here. I don't buy that, but there it is. It does read 100, strange enough. Okay, 110 degrees at the top of the radiator, and if I'm not mistaken, it loses about 15 or 18 degrees or something like that. I'll hit it at the top, bottom of the radiator, 98 degrees. And then we come out of our last set of cooling pipes right here, and everything's painted black. I want to make sure there was no mistakes, that I was getting reflection with this guy. So these are pretty much true readings right here. So can't beat that with a stick, guys. It's like I said, it's doing its job. I've got a good cool gas that's going to be going in the filters, and you can see we've got a good flare here. It's nice and orange. And I'm going to show you one other thing too. This is a safety thing here. I may as well stick as much as I can in here. Now I'm going to have some smoke in here because this thing hasn't stabilized, and it'll backflash if I raise it up. So I've got, first of all, I've got safety glasses, but I'm going to burn it off with the torch. So check this out. I want you to see this. If you know how to do this, and you know how to prepare yourself for it, this way you can get in the gasifier and do what I just did right there and get inside of it and play around with it if you need to shake something, or if you got a bridging issue or something. Had I just raised that lid up and let that oxygen from the top flow down and hit those embers, this thing would have shot out a big foop on me. So there you go. I tried to actually demonstrate this in my second video where I was running on sticks from the yard. I was trying to show you guys, and I couldn't get to the torch fast enough. So I wanted you to see that because that's actually something worth seeing. So on that note, we're going to pause that, and I'm going to switch it over to the filters, and I'll bring you guys back in on the other side. All right, I want you guys to see this firsthand. Now, I've been running through the filters for about 4 or 5 minutes. I want you to see what's not coming out of this pipe right here, okay? I want to be real clear on this. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't get this gas sparkling. There's not so much as a fog or any kind of haze coming out of it. I do have a little bit of gas leakage, or that is air leakage getting into my fan, and it's only prevalent when I hook it up to the air filters because the tri-filter system puts a little bit of bat drag on it, so it lets it suck air into the fan. It's something I got to fix, but I'm going to go ahead and ignite it. Check this out. So that's why the flame is actually white. It's probably blue inside. Yeah, I'll take a picture of it here with the camera here in a second. It's actually solid blue, but it's an actual white flame. It's kind of like I guess a acetylene torch when you turn oxygen on or something. But there it is, and I'm going to disconnect it again and let you see there's absolutely 0.0 anything coming out. And this is what I want to try to run to my engine, guys. I don't want to be running anything questionable in it. I don't want to be overhauling the engine. And this is why I'm kind of stringent about the filters. And this is also why when I first built the gasifier that I'd done all those videos and I experimented, but I never hooked it up to the generator. I wanted to be really, really sure that I have what you see right here, which is basically pristine, almost natural gas, clean gas. I'm going to pull the gas off the input and hook it back up. This way the flame's out, and I'm going to get the light over here again. And you can see what's coming out of the pipe. Nothing. That's what you want to run into your engine if possible. I'm going to ignite it again, and then I'm going to shake the grate and hook it up to the generator. Poof. We're up and running. And I'll be back here with the camera, and I'm going to let you see me crank this generator in real time, hopefully. So, take a pause out, and I'm going to put the camera on tripod, guys. To disconnect this puppy and hook him up to the generator, I'm going to zoom in here on this flare just one more time. Extremely, extremely clean. Okay, let's get back over here, zoom back out. And I may have to play with this. When you crank with wood gas, it's never a perfect start like it is with gasoline. I do prime up with about, well, I'll show you what I prime up with, just so you know. I got a piece of fish aquarium tube, and I fill that up one time and dump it into the carburetor, and then I let it just sit there and let the vapors build up in it. And a lot of times that fires it right up. And when I do this, guys, I leave my intake wide open, okay? It's wide open, and the same thing with this guy up here, because this actually has a choke on the carburetor itself. So I choke down, and then I crank it up, and basically it's going to pull the air in through the top, the fresh air in first before it pulls it in here, because this is going to have a little bit of resistance. So therefore it allows me to crank it up, and once it cranks up, and then I cut back the fresh air intake, about a half to a quarter input depending, and once I do that, it's all good, and the thing will sit there and stay running. So let's get started. Just let you guys see this as I pluck it out. Alright. I'll just let the fan sit here and do its hickey. Alright, we're hooked up. We're up and running on wood gas, and I had another YouTube person ask me about the connections. I'll cover this at the end of the video. Let me get this off of here. Okay, now tonight was not about running the generator. This is all about how to set the gasifier up. So this is what I was wanting to show you. And I'll go ahead and let this little bit of fuel that's in it run on out. And once this is done, I'll go ahead and shut it down and everything. But we're up and running. And everything's good to go. You can see I'm running nice and smooth. The generator cranked up with ease. So it's all, really what it comes down to is what I'm telling you. It's going to come down to you learning your own setup, okay? It's kind of like having a car that has quirks with it. Nobody wants to drive it, but when you get in it, you could drive it across the country. Kind of the same thing with the gasifier. And once you learn your system, then, you know, there's nothing that's going to stop it. I can get this thing to crank up on demand every time like this and run good every single time. Okay. Let's see something here. By the way, all my pipes on my new radiator system are all running the same temperature, nice and evenly. So I'm real pleased about that too. So I was curious how the baffle was going to work. Well, guess what? It works. So on that note, guys, I'm going to pause back out here, and I'll bring you in here in a couple of minutes when I shut the system down, because tonight was not about running the generator. I just want to be clear on that. I wanted to show you guys the proper way to set it up and get it running. So I'm real pleased with this. Needless to say, the next video you see will be with this guy set up, and he'll be running, he'll be set up on the trailer, and I may do a short run with it, or I just may show it, hey, I finally got this thing done and put together. I've got all my steel to build my frames to support this thing on the trailer with. So it's just now to have me a good weekend where nobody bothers me and I can get out here and get the job done. So I'll pause back out and bring you guys back in one more time before we shut down. All right, before I actually shut the thing down, I want to let you guys see the airline here. And I want you to notice something here on this line. I'm going to zoom in on it. There's nothing pooping around in it. If you got smoke going in the line, you will see it oscillate. If you ever seen an old fluorescent light, the old 4-foot or 6 to 8 foot ones in a gas station, when they're burning out, they look like they got ribs running through them. Or you see, I don't know how to explain it, it looks like bubbles running through a straw. Well, because the engine's sucking in gas and going through its cycles, if you got smoke in here, you'll actually see it oscillate on these guys right here, right inside this plastic line. I've seen steam do that before when I had wood that had a little bit more humidity in it than I like. But if you got any kind of nasties coming through the gas, you'll see it in the line here. And you see what I got right here. It's good and clean. And since I've been using this generator, all I've ran it off is wood gas. I think I've got probably about, I want to say roughly 30 hours worth of run time on it. I pulled the plug on it, and the plug looks really good. And the oil definitely smells like charcoals or whatever, but other than that, I mean, I'm not seeing any issues with it. I don't see any tar or anything building up or anything that shouldn't be in the engine. Let me put it that way. I don't see anything building up on the engine, on the intake, that's not supposed to be there. So basically, I've got a good running system right now, and I just wanted to kind of mention that in the mix. Now, after I shut this off, I did have a YouTube user that was asking me, hey, how are you running these plastic lines? How are you interfacing from the gasifier's filter system right up to the engine? And I'll cover that in a minute. So on that note, guys, I'm fixing to shut down here. Shook the grate there. You hear the RPMs drop a little bit. Now, somewhere along the line, I'm really considering, because I could do this with this setup of adding something that will automatically do this for me, that'll automatically shake the grate and put a little vibration on the gasifier. So that's down the road. But anyhow, one more thing I want to show you here. I'm going to pull the light around here for this too. One good thing about it, this single nozzle design, is when I shut this gas off, that generator is going to die. So here we go. Check this out. That's the way you want your system right there. That's the way you want it. Now, I only ran, in between pause and out, I only ran about 45 minutes. An hour with the gasifier total, but about 45 minutes as far as the actual run of the engine. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, it felt like about 10 or 15 minutes to get the gasifier actually up and running. Now I'm going to show you what we got in the jar here. You ready? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This goes back to one of my how-to videos where I was telling you that this jar is like a window to the health of the gas itself and the health of the gasifier. And since I've made my reduction zone much smaller. I went down to 2 inches. So basically this is what I'm saying when I tell you guys that I've got a bastardized design that's somewhere between an invert and somewhere between a FEMA, as in I went ahead and I went to a 2-inch reduction zone. That's what they say if you're going to be running a 5 horsepower engine. And basically, in the past, I was cracking the tar, had no issues with it. It was right on the cusp, but it was still clean where I wasn't seeing anything that was going to cause harm with it. But since I did reduce with this, I have noticed that it moved the bell curve around. And I think it put me more toward the center of the bell curve as far as getting a hotter burning gas at a lower air velocity moving through it. So there you go, guys. And once again, as always, if you got any questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Now, as far as the YouTube user was going that was asking about how I'm interfacing, let me pause out, and I'm going to pause back in once I get the camera where I can sit here and hold it with one hand and not have to hold the light with the other one. So I want to go ahead and get this light on the tripod, and I'll bring this over here and explain to you exactly how I'm interfacing with the lines here. So take a pause. Okay, everything that I'm using as far as my pipes go and as far as the PVC coming from the tri-filter, okay, this is all 1-inch stuff, okay. You were asking about this. Basically, I went from 1 1/4 inch and I got a straight coupler, and guess what? These elbows or these straight couplers for 1 inch fit perfectly inside of a 1 1/4 inch coupler. All you have to do is put a few pieces of tape around it, shove it in there, and it's done. So I made everything what I call slip and fits, just like I did as far as my gasifier goes and pipes. Everything's slip and fit. This plastic pipe is 1 inch, and what I did on him was I cleaned the dog poop out of the inside of this thing here with I did it with acetone and softened up the plastic. And the same thing with this plastic pipe here. I wiped him down really good and got him clean, and then I shoved him in there and I took a pen and I went around the edge of it and drew a black line. I pulled it out, and I think it goes in about, I want to say 1 inch. And I got black electrical tape, or you don't see it because it's right, it stops where my finger's at, but I wrapped a few pieces of electrical tape in so that when I shoved it in there, it went airtight. Then I painted this thing basically with some good pipe glue, shoved it in there and let it set overnight, and these things will never, ever, ever leak. So that's how you want to do it. And I did the same thing here. All this stuff here is just slip and fit. You see, this is an extension. And of course, the same thing with the gasifier, man. The same thing with the generator too. It's the same setup. Because I built my own carburetor setup, I slip and fit into here. Now, something else to let you know too, that when I'm starting this thing up, what I have to do, this is where my flares come from. This is my unfiltered gas. I have to plug up the side to the filters. If not, you'll draw air backwards to the system and you'll never get the damn thing lit. I basically plug him up. I've got an adapter that I made for him. It's somewhere, and shoot, man, it's dark. I don't know where it's at, but anyhow, if you got any creativity about you, you'll figure it out. But basically what I've got is I've got a piece that goes on, oh shoot, it's right here. Dummy, me. Okay, it's right here. He plugs right here, and that's my adapter. That way I can take this end cap here and plug them on here. Now guys, when I get this thing really put together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a dedicated cap that's hung on a chain that's stuck here. So basically when I pull this thing apart and, you know, I'm ready to put the vacuum fan on here to ignite it, I'll just pull them off and let them hang. This way you're not in a panic looking for these things laying around. And then of course I put it on there, and this guy here is plugged up, and then I unplug him and hook him to the generator once I prime it. Okay, so basically what I do, and the reason I got a good fast start also, and I may not have mentioned this, I'm just trying to think of everything that I can put in here, because this is basically the last how-to video I'll be doing. But basically guys, I do prime my gas with the same vacuum fan. That's why I move it around. I prime it this way. You don't have to sit there and break your arm cranking it with the pull handle on this guy right here. So all I'm doing is I let him draw the gas up through it. Once it's done, then I hook it to the generator and crank it right up, and there's no priming of the gas. Everything's ready to go. So on that note, I hope this helps you guys. And this is my last video. It has been a pleasure doing this for everybody. There's a lot of people that's actually helped me, and so I'm just returning the favor. So this is Flash001 USA. As always guys, any questions, shoot me a personal message, leave me a message on the blog, carrier pigeon, psychic, however you do it. Just don't throw a rock through my window, because if you do, I gotta come get you. Speaking of, my wife just pulled up, so I'm turning this camera off. Alright guys, I really don't have anything on hand where I can physically show you how to make biochar. So I'm going to do the next best thing, and I'm going to give you some explanations of how to do it. And just listen to what I'm telling you, and you'll figure it out that it's pretty simple and straightforward. Now, the way I did mine, and I'm going to advise you to do the same thing. Once you build your new gasifier up, use that to make your biochar, because you got to break it in anyhow. It's not like you're going to build the new gasifier and immediately hook it up to an engine. So this is what I would do. Make you a wadded newspaper for your reduction zone. In other words, if you got a 3-inch reduction zone or a 2-inch reduction zone, make you a loose wadded newspaper that's just big enough so that it doesn't fall through that reduction zone. Then take your fire cone or your burn chamber and put your wood chunks on top of that. Okay, the newspaper is going to stop the wood chunks from falling down into the bottom of the gasifier where they'll be unconsumed. You don't want it falling through. What you're going to do is use that newspaper as a stopper in a bathtub, more or less, okay? Now, fill up your fire cone like I did with the biochar on my gasifier in the video when I was showing you. Then you're going to ignite it. What's going to happen as the wood is being consumed, the newspaper will hold everything in place. Then as the fire finally reaches the bottom of the newspaper, it will burn the paper out of the way, and then your stuff will fall through. Now keep something in mind that you're going to produce a lot of smoke. It's going to look like you have a mosquito truck, okay? And you're going to produce some tar in the process. It doesn't matter. You're just doing test runs with it. Now, run the gasifier at least 2, 3, 4 hours. So have enough wood fuel on hand to do that. Once the gasifier is out and it's cooling down, harvest your biochar and put it into a bag and put it someplace where it's going to stay dry. Now, if it was me, I would make a 5-gallon pail of it over a period of time, or at least wind up saving that much over a period of time. You hear people say, hey, they take it and they spray their biochar in their gardens. That's all good, but what you want to do is have you a good supply of startup fuel. That's how I'm doing mine. The other scenario would be to go to get you a couple of gallon paint cans. You can get them from any hardware store. Put your wood chunks in them, take the lid, put them on it, and then punch you holes in the lid, like maybe 2 or 3 holes with a big screwdriver or something. Put that in a campfire, let it burn, and what'll happen is you'll see the wood gas actually produce right out of the paint cans. You'll see the flames come out where you punch the holes at. Watch it, and once the fire goes out or they die off, immediately pull them off, let them cool down, and you'll have biochar that way. But that's a little bit more of a hassle, but I'll leave that up to you. That's your discretion. So I would do it the way I was describing with the gasifier, because you're breaking it in anyhow. So I hope that helps you, and if you do have any questions, as always, ask me and I'm more than glad to help you.